So welcome everybody to yet another live interview show with Become a Fearless Father. And today I am accompanied by Trent Evans. Trent, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate that. You taking the time out of your busy schedule. And before we get into your origin story, man, I saw some of the people that you've interviewed. I was like, hey, this guy's on fire. Awesome. I saw Steve Larson. What's his name? Dave Woodward, right?
John Parks was on there.
Yup. Jeffrey Bannock. Did I say that correctly?
Jeff Bannock was on there.
Yeah.
Had Dan Henry on there a couple weeks ago, or last week, 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
It's been fun.
And you went to somebody's office as well. I was like, dang, I gotta ask this guy. Like the question that just came into I saw that, I was like, dang, I gotta know this. So, dude, what's your secret of getting these freaking amazing dudes on your show?
All right, so I'm going to give it to you. This is like top secret behind the scenes. I just ask them. That's the whole secret. That's everything. Really what it is I don't know. I've had decent success in most of the stuff I've done in my life, but I've always tried to, I don't know if pride yourself is the right phrase with this, but I've always tried to kind of pride myself in staying humble and having humility in the fact that, like, when I approach anybody, whether it's someone like, the Dan Henrys, the Dave Woodward, Steve Larsons, or it's some of the lesser known people that I've had on my show who are actually really, really amazing, but people just don't know about them. And I always approach it the same way. I'm like, look, I would be totally honored if you would join me on the show. And it's completely genuine. And I think that's what people have a tendency to pick up is my main goal is to always be genuine in everything I do. And I think that comes across and people are like, sure. Yeah. I mean, I got a guy who, if you didn't watch the interview, you'll enjoy this one. His name was Steve Sims. And the guy is like, I literally call him the modern day Wizard of Oz. Like anything you want, he can do. He's gotten people married in, he got somebody married in, all of a sudden I can't remember what it was. One of the big museums he had closed off over in Italy, and they had a private dinner. He's had clients up on stage with Aerosmith and the Rolling Stones, and like the stuff anything you can dream of, he can do. He does like James Bond for a day stuff. And I just asked him, I'm like, hey man, I love the message you share about, giving and then being able to ask something in return after you've given. And I'd love to have you on the show. I think you'd be a great, he's like, sure. I was like, really? Yeah, that's awesome. I'm like, I'm so excited. That's fantastic. But yeah, I mean, that's the secret. The secret is just be humble and ask. My dad always told me something when I was little. He said, you never know until you ask. So when I ask, that's when you find out yes or no. And everybody's always seems surprised. I'm sorry, I'm sharing the feed here. Everybody always seems surprised when I just ask. And they're like, really, that's all you do? I'm like, yeah, that genuinely is all I do.
Nice. Is that then like you go by email or you just
I'll try some different ways.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll try whether it's Facebook Messenger. If I follow them on Instagram, maybe you'll hit them with a DM on Instagram. Sometimes you can use, like, there's actually even what's it called here? There's a little Chrome plugin called Rocket Reach. And you can use Rocket Reach to pretty much find anybody's email. And so sometimes I'll use Rocket Reach and track down an email, and there you go. And you find it. And it's just being resourceful. And I ask, and somehow people I think they see the genuineness in my ask, and they see that really the way I position the show is it's always about me trying to give to other people. Like you're doing here. It's always about me trying to help my audience. My audience happens to be just people who are entrepreneurs or small business owners, or people in a 9-to-5 trying to become that. And so I gear the show towards how can I help those people move forward. And I think the other guests see that and they're like, cool. Yeah, we think that'd be fun.
Nice. That's awesome. So it sounds really exciting. Yeah, just ask. I actually I don't know if you heard of him. His name is Alec Lace.
I know the name.
He actually he popped off in like a year doing crazy amounts of interviews, and he had some pro football players, but like the best of the best on his show. I was like, dude, how you do it? He's like, Faith and ask. And I was like, that simple? Dude, I'm standing here in front of my camera and I try to send out 7 invites every single week, right? And
I think when people don't realize, you do something that's really cool. Like you actually sent, and I don't do this. I may have to start. But you actually took a second, and when you were going to invite me on the show, like you actually shot me a video and sent me a private message. It was a video. It wasn't like, hey, here's like, it couldn't be construed as a copy and paste message because you took time and actually shot a video. And it's like, it's the things like that, little touches that help people connect and make people like, yeah, cool, I'll help this dude out. He actually seems like he's genuine. He wants to have me on the show, and it means enough to him that he took, even though it's only 30 seconds, right? He took 30 seconds to shoot a video and send it to me. And to me, that stands out. And I know to a lot of the people that I've asked to be on my show, they feel the same way. It's like that little bit of extra. It really shows that someone cares and that everything matters.
Awesome. I'll keep at it. Like for example, one of my guys that I have on top of the list is Steve Larson. Like I would freaking go nuts if at one point I get to have him on my show. Just
ironically, Steve was probably the hardest one for me to get on.
Oh, really?
He was interested. He's like, yeah, I would be interested. He said, but here's my calendar. Like, you can find a slot. Yeah. And I was fortunate. I got in right as he opened up his calendar publicly for his podcast, because I think right now, unless he opens up new slots, he's booked out like a year and a half.
Yeah. No, I know.
Which is that. Like just bananas.
Exactly. So I keep sending the video every time in the hope that he'll get back to me, and then we can set up something different, especially for me.
Awesome.
Anyway, I keep trying, man, because Russell Brunson, same. I mean, that I didn't even get a reply, but I would love to have him. And I got more of those guys on my list.
Russell's a tough one too, because he is just really. I talked to his internal staff, and he's like, he's really just scaled back and doesn't do a lot of interviews right now because he's so busy. Yeah,
exactly. No, and
I'm gonna get him eventually though. Kiss my butt.
Hey, become a 2 Comma Club award winner, and I bet you he'll be more interested, right?
Exactly. We're on the way.
Nice, man. Good to hear. So, man, this conversation went from a small question to a whole different direction, but I like it. Let's step back, man. Share with us your origin story.
I'll make this somewhat quick because it could be really long. I actually was, I grew up, I was a sports guy, played sports my whole life, ended up going to college, played sports and played football in college, came back, played a little bit of semi-pro football. And that was kind of the life until I started moving on. It's that life until you decide, okay, I'm not going to get paid well at this. I got to go find something that I can enjoy, that I can make money doing. And, my dad was always young, and he was always able to play sports with me. So I looked at it from the standpoint, I want to get married young. So I got married when I was 21, and hindsight's easy to say it was the wrong person. I'll say this, it just didn't work out very well. She ended up taking off, and I was left with custody of both my daughters, which I don't say left like it was a negative. It was fantastic. But both my daughters, they're now present day, they're 14 and 12. Soon to be 15 and 12, and they're both special needs. So that was a little bit of a challenge early on. And I just got remarried May of 2016. My wife now is fantastic. There's always that blending experience of a blended family. Like the little one's always looking for a mom, so she's ready to embrace her. But the older one was kind of got used to just dad and her, and so there was a little dynamic there that we still kind of work through. So that's the personal side, but the on the business side, I managed, I had a financial planning business, managed about $150 million in assets during my first marriage. I was there. And then when we got divorced, I had to kind of leave that alone and kind of leave that business because I didn't have time. Because obviously now I have custody of both girls, and I think they were 4 and 18 months or 4 and 2, something like that when it happened. So they weren't even necessarily in preschool, and so that was a tough dynamic. And I said, all right, well, I got to find a way to pay the bills. So I started teaching myself web design, SEO, and then that transitioned into doing online marketing, run like Google ads. Then Facebook came around, and it was Google and Facebook ads. And then I started running them for other people. And, my agency technically was started then in 2008. And now I run what I'd like to say is a pretty successful branding and marketing agency where we help clients with lead generation, organic social media, and doing content creation. But it hasn't been, people can see like, you know, I have the flexibility. I work for myself. I can run around the house. I was at the gym this morning for 2 hours before I came home and did this. And so I have that ability to do that. But there was a period of time when, I think I've shared this once or twice before in a video, is like money was so tight when it was just me and the girls. And there's that pride thing as a dad, you don't ask for help. And so I think it was either 2 or 3 straight days for dinner and lunch, I had those little boxes of Swanson chicken broth. I drank half at lunch, half at dinner, and then did that. It was either 2 or 3 days I did that until I threw up. And then I decided I needed to call my parents and ask for some money. All the while the kids were still eating. They were having spaghetti and macaroni and cheese. And I'm like, well, I have money for them, but I just, you know, I don't necessarily have the money for me to eat right now, which, you know, in hindsight was not the smartest decision. But as a parent, you just kind of, at least I'm that way, you just kind of roll with the punches and do what you got to do. But my point being is everyone sees, like you've seen the picture of the iceberg. Everyone sees the tip of the iceberg, and you never see all the crap that people have to go through, all the drama, all the struggles that people go through to get to that tip of the iceberg. And I'm not saying I'm by any means at the tip of the iceberg, but I feel like I'm at least above water now, so I can see the tip of the iceberg.
That's a good place to be in. Nice, man. Thank you for sharing. I really appreciate that. You don't hear that often, that the woman takes off and then leaves the kids with the husband. And then the husband, or the dad, I should say, because of course you weren't a husband then anymore. Then the dad saying, look, man, I'll pick it up. I'll do this, you know.
Yeah. I think I was blessed in the fact that my attitude, my mentality is my favorite phrase is, it is what it is. Like that's always been my mentality. And it's something that that's probably the biggest thing that's helped me through this entire process is I've learned to do, and I'm very good at doing one thing specifically. And that is, if I can't change it right now, I won't worry about it. Because I just think life has enough stress on its own. And if I can't, like, you know, if I couldn't change money at that present time, I'm not gonna stress over it. I would do what I can that day. I don't mean like be lazy and do nothing, but you do what you can that day. But if I couldn't change it, I just don't stress over it and I move on. Yeah. Deal with what I can change.
Exactly. Amazing, man. I love it. So for the people that are watching and now at a recording later, I put in the website real quick so you can check it out. It's also in the comment section, so you can just click on the link. I always like to make it as easy as possible for people. Plus, if you're watching the recording, it will be in the description, of course, as well.
Absolutely.
So check it out. Definitely worth your while.
I appreciate it. So, thank you.
Man, so much to talk about. First off, man, you just sharing your story, you filled me up with so much pride. It's like you hear so much shit from dads. Either they cannot see their kids, or they're messed up so bad that they're not even allowed to hear their kids. And then you hear your story, and I'm like, yes, another dad that just freaking rocked it and just took responsibility. I really appreciate that. I actually have a client that's a single dad, and his missus left as well. And it just fills me with so much joy and pride to see, like, okay, yeah, there are dads that are stepping up, right? And more and more. Maybe it's the energy.
No, I totally agree, man. Like I get goosebumps, and that is what it is. Like there's this kind of misnomer out there that most dads, that you know, that they're a majority of stuff guys that they just don't care, and they'll you have the statistic. I think it's like 50% of families, or I don't even know the exact stats, but something like that, have divorced, and you have deadbeat dads, and it's like. I think it's that there is validity to that, but it's on us to change that. And it doesn't change by, you know, I'm going to take a quick, we have time for a rabbit trail.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to take a quick rabbit trail. It's a guy by the name of Garrett White. I love his stuff. You got to be good with profanity. I don't cuss at all, but I'm okay if people do, like, you know, that's their business. Right. But Garrett has something, he calls it's his warrior book. Right. And the reason I talk about it is that he talks about how guys and dads especially have been, how we got pulled away. You know, you go back 19th century, we were on the farms, and like boys learn how to be men from dad. Girls learn how men are supposed to treat women from seeing how dad treated mom, because everybody was there. You had the dynamic, the whole family environment was still in the farm.
Yep.
Now, I mean, majority of it is, dad goes off to work. Sometimes mom has to work too. And then the kids are either with babysitter or they're in school. And then dad comes home and he's just exhausted. And he gets maybe an hour or two with the kids and he's trying, but it's that concept of like, mom can't teach boys how to be men. Is as good of a job as a mom can be. She can't teach them how to be men, and she can't teach a daughter how men are supposed to treat women. The daughter has to see her dad treated women a certain way. And I think that's how we start. Like I look at that for my kids. That's how I teach my daughters, even though they're special needs. This is how you treat women. They see how I am with their mom. And it doesn't mean I'm perfect. I get frustrated every once in a while. You raise your voice and yell, and I got to go back and apologize. But I've seen that even my kids they're both autistic, by the way. That's their disability side. But even I have my little one, a funny story. My wife and I got in an argument. It's about a month ago. It was a good one. It was a good one. It was a stinger. We got in a good argument. And I went in, and my little one, this shows she's 12, but because of her like social development, she's probably 7, 8, that kind of thing. Yeah. She looked at me dead in the eyes. I was tucking her in. She goes, "Dad, you need to apologize to mom for arguing." And I'm like, that's cool, because she's seeing that she's catching my mistake, even though I knew I had to apologize. Sometimes you're just not ready yet. You're like, I need a minute. But she was able to catch my mistake and say, look, you got to fix this, because she's seeing that, Dad, this is the right way you treat women, because this is how you normally are. And I think I've known this on fathers, to be able to step up and really kind of create that culture where, kids see this is what a man acts like. This is how he treats a woman. This is, the value of hard work. This is, your word's your word, and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my rabbit trail.
Hey, I'm glad we went down it. That's absolutely amazing. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. I love it when my kids correct me, right? It teaches us so much, and it snaps you out wherever you're in. It's like,
it also reminds you how much they're watching you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. So true. Awesome, man. So you said you have a successful business, and
I'd like to think so.
But I'm just saying it that way because my question to you is, what's your philosophy on what success means?
Oh, that's a really good question. I like that, because this is something that I've been shifting a lot. In the past, I used to say, okay, successful business means when money was tight, successful meant I could pay all my bills. And then once I could pay all my bills, I realized that just paying all the bills doesn't mean you're successful. And then I started to think, is it because I'm making $1 million, $2 million, $10 million? Is that what makes me successful? No, that doesn't make me successful. For me personally, it came back to, am I happy in what I do? Do I have the ability in what I'm doing to make my family happy, to give my family a good quality of life? And I think that's more important. I think too often we see people say that success is determined by financial status or by recognition. And I think it really has to come back to, do you really enjoy what you do? I've said numerous times, like, entrepreneurship is glorified right now because it's kind of a cool thing. But everybody's not an entrepreneur. They're not. Some people are like the most amazing. Like, I think one of my really, really, really best friends, my good friends here in town, he and I were having a conversation a couple of nights ago over a couple cigars and a glass of scotch. It's a good time for conversation. And we're talking and he's like, honestly, I'm not an entrepreneur. He's like, I like to be the guy. He's like, I like to be that second man that takes all the entrepreneur's dreams, the visions, all the big picture an entrepreneur sees, and helps him learn how to figure out how to implement it. He's like, that's what I enjoy. He goes, I'm not an entrepreneur. I don't want to be the front man. I don't want to be the dude that's ultimately responsible for everybody else's checks and salaries. He's like, that's just not what I want. He's like, I enjoy being a great number two. And that self-awareness is what leads to happiness. Because some people will just will enjoy just making 50, 60 grand. and being able to, Gary Vee says this all the time, being able to go play softball on the weekends and hang out with their kids and go to the kids' soccer games and baseball games. And that is the life that makes them happy. And so that person has to be self-aware that that's what makes them happy. They don't have to go get another job and work 80 hours a week to where they can't do the softball, the kid shows, everything else, just so they can make another 40 or 50 grand. Happiness, in my opinion, is the key as to what makes you successful or not. If you're happy and enjoy what you're doing and enjoy your life, then in my opinion, you're successful.
Nice. I like that. I especially picked up on that, and I like that, and I didn't realize until you just mentioned it, is success, the terminology of success, your terminology, it changes over time, right?
It did. As I learn more about myself and life, it changes.
Yeah.
When I'm young, everybody just wants, oh, man, did you see that dude get that new Bentley? He's got that Rolls, man. I got to get me a Rolls. I need a Rolls. Oh, God. That new Bugatti that came out, that thing's so cool. And all the rappers are singing about it. I got my new Bugattis in my song, and I got all this ice and my bling. And you're like, yeah, man, I need a big chain, and I got to get some diamonds on it. And like, when you come to realize, like, okay, I have nothing with diamonds. I don't like diamonds. My wedding ring is just a silver band. I don't need it. Diamonds annoy me because I feel like they're going to get dirty. I'm going to break it. I'm going to lose one. I got a little titanium band or tungsten band I can just beat the snot out of and never worry about anything happening to
it. Absolutely. I always get reminded then of what DMX sings. If you flash it, you must not want it.
That's a good point. Yeah, absolutely.
So that reminded me. So yeah, I'm the same.
You'll be stolen if you don't show it.
Yeah. So yeah, man, I like that. And I appreciate you sharing that. It was actually one of my later questions, but since you mentioned, you got a pretty successful business, you got a pretty successful setup. I was just wondering, what that meant to you. I think it's important for people to realize that because, yeah, you're right. So many people think like, yeah, I need that car or I need that house and there's no end, right?
Yeah.
And
totally.
then in the end, and what you're saying, like, yeah, they're wearing big blings and big cars. And most likely they got big mortgages and big debts as well to trying to get that stuff, hoping that in the future they continue to make successful money.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not hating on anyone that makes money.
No,
because, there is another phrase I've heard people say numerous times, money doesn't buy happiness. And I'll say, well, I'm willing to give it a shot. or it may not buy happiness, but it makes it a little easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, try to be broke and see how happy you are then.
It's a challenge being broke.
People are happy,
but there are people that are happy, absolutely.
So yeah, absolutely, man. You're right. My question after your origin story was actually like, because I've been watching you and I saw all those interviews that you set up, and I see the passion with which you are trying to help entrepreneurs blow up, right? What's your why?
I'm not really good at, I'll say I need to get better at explaining my why. And I think it's because I've never really sat and defined it, which is probably a flaw on my part. But when I really look at it, I look back at my life and I realize how difficult things have been. And for example, when I had custody of my kids and I had to go on my own and I had to start my own business, right? I had someone to kind of help me through that a little bit. My dad was always in sales, and he actually ran his own company, majority of his life. He still does right now. And so I kind of had someone that I could come back to and lean on and say, well, how do I find clients? How do I get more business? How do, help me? The sales process I was able to learn because, I was a financial planner. And so from that side, I was able to learn the process of selling, closing, answering objections, being able to represent your position, that kind of stuff. But from the ability of like kind of creating a brand and all that, it was still somewhat new that I had to learn. And so my why comes back to looking at people who want the same freedom that I have, because I've been able really to have a huge value for the flexibility and the freedom that I have, to be able to do whatever. I mean, I can do this interview right in the middle of the day. My kids are both in summer school right now, so they go off at 8:30 in the morning. I go to a 9:45. I go to the gym. I'm there for about an hour and a half. I have the flexibility to do that. Obviously sometimes that changes. If you hit deadlines, then you end up doing 16-hour days when you have that flexibility too. So there is both sides of it. But having that flexibility, I've seen how it's changed my life and how that freedom has given me a ton of joy and happiness. And it hurts me and bothers me when I hear people. I just had a conversation with a family member last week who's like, well, I don't know where to start. I don't know how to do that. Well, I don't know. Well, I don't know how to kind of set this part of the business up, or I don't know how to find my audience or find new customers, or, I don't know how to sell something online, or I have a product, but I don't know how to get it to people. Like, that bothers me because there's these I don't know how to's. While sometimes they're valid, I look at them a little differently in the standpoint of, like, the information's all there, right? Anybody, all these courses we have, all the information, you can find it on the internet. You can go Google it and find it. But the bottom line is, if I can be a resource to help people be able to funnel that information and to help them find success quicker, that's what matters to me. That's where I struggle with, from the business side. I have to work with larger clients because they pay better. But then I try to give away as much as I can on the free side to help small business owners. Because it's just, I'm all about family. It kills me when I see a business owner work 80, 90 hours a week just to pay the bills. Because then they're not able to be there for their family. They're drained emotionally, mentally. And that's my biggest thing. I want people to be able to live a happy life to where they're able to have balance, whatever that should be. Some people, they like Gary Vee, they really love working. So Gary will work 60, 70 hours a week and he's completely happy. And if that's what they like, fantastic. But a lot of people aren't like that. They want more time with their kids, with their family, but they don't know how to get that back and get that flexibility, which is where being an entrepreneur, owning your own business can come in and help that. But most people just don't know where to start. So I guess that's a long way to say my why comes back to being able to help people have the flexibility that I have, because I see how it's changed my life and given me time back with my kids, with my wife. My wife and I, even though sometimes we can't get babysitters, we can go on a lunch date because I have flexibility.
Exactly.
So
nice, man. I appreciate you sharing that. When you said 60, 80 hours, I was thinking, no, I like Tim Ferriss' 4-hour work week. I think that.
Amen. I mean, I've been telling people there's some days, if I get all my stuff done, there's days I'll work 2-3 hours. It is what it is. There's some days I'll work 16 to 18 hours. It eventually balances out, but it's about getting your life back and enjoying life. We only get one of them. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's my opinion. I was raised in church. I'm a Christian. I'm not going to get into all the religious side of it and my beliefs and not to push that on anybody, but I believe we only get one chance. So I really want to be able to make the most of the chance I have and enjoy it. Yeah, absolutely. And your kids only grow up one time too. Also, yeah. And one of the things, at least that I get from your story, is you also want to make as big an impact as possible in the world, in this life. And I really sense that from you, which was one of the other reasons why I really want to have you in the show, because for me, that resonates. That's so important for me. Well, and a side note, for anybody else that hears this, I'm a college dropout. Proud of it. I'm a college dropout. I just told my wife the other day, I'm working on a book that has to tie all that together. But look, I'm a college dropout. You don't have to have a college degree to do well. No, and there's plenty of that have college degrees and do horribly. You see both sides. And I'm not saying college degree is bad. You see both sides. Yeah, I just don't want people to feel like they have to fit in a certain mold or a certain niche. Otherwise, they won't be successful. No, absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. Man, I got tons of questions. I want to go in something else. I haven't even written it down. I saw your post about your pops, and now you're again referring to him. He sounds like a freaking just out of this world, amazing man. And just you share a couple. Sorry, go ahead. No, that's fine, man. That's fine. I love
it's good that you have to laugh and relax. So that's important. I love it. Can you share like maybe like the biggest lesson that you've learned from him, that or something that made the biggest, something that he did that made the biggest impact on you, that now you're like, okay, yeah, that made me who I am?
I think it's a tie, so I'm going to give you two.
Cool, thanks.
So,
Get the bonus.
There's one that really stood out to me, and a lot of people they don't. If you've played sports, like if you've had events, or even if you've had, if you were into music and you had recitals, or you had recitals for ballet, or if you had something that you did, like a hobby that you were really passionate about, you'll get this. I played football from the time I was 9 or 10, I believe, all the way up until, let's see, I played up through college, and I left college, and then I went back and played a year and a half of semi-pro ball till I dislocated my hip, which is fine, but wasn't the greatest feeling. But my dad, this is one of the things that I thought was really cool. My dad never missed a game of mine.
Wow.
And by the way, and let me clarify, I didn't just play football. That was my main sport. I played football. In the fall, I would play either basketball or ice hockey. And in the spring, a lot of times I played baseball up until like my sophomore year. My dad never missed a game. Didn't matter the sport, didn't matter what it was. When phones came out, my dad would be in the car and he'd have my mom, video, and he'd watch it, and or he'd be in a hotel and he'd be watching it via her phone and stuff. And but he never missed a game of mine. And I think that's one of the things for me as a father that really stood out. And like when my daughters have something at school, I won't miss it. It doesn't matter what it is. My little one, she's had just the honor roll stuff, and you go on stage and, you're kind of like, okay, once you've done it once, you're like, do I have to go to each one of them? I won't miss them. I'll go to every single one of them. The other thing that my dad said, which is kind of something I don't really talk about a lot. My dad, he didn't give me his height. I'm not mad about that. Still am a little bit. No, I'm kidding. My dad's like 6'4". I'm 6 foot. So I kind of got hosed. At least in my opinion, when it came to sports, that I didn't like that. But the one thing that he really taught me is, and my wife can tell you this, I have no problem saying it. If I get overly frustrated, my wife and I get in a fight and I get really, really mad, I will cry. And I have no problem saying it. It's something that was ingrained in me from my dad. And I've seen my dad cry probably, he's not like a big baby, but I've seen him cry more times than I could probably count. My dad made it okay, and he made it appropriate that, look, you're not less of a man, and it's okay for a man to show emotion. It's okay for a man to cry. It's okay for a man to be genuine. You don't have to be this like solid, just like rock with no emotions and like stoic and only get excited about sporting events, and your only other excitement is anger. Like my dad, he just made it a natural, comfortable thing to be able to have emotion. And with that, that's made it for me to be able to, for my kids and for my wife. Like my wife can tell you, I'm the dude that sometimes in the movies, I'm like, I don't want to see me.
Brilliant.
Did Nemo just die? No, not quite that bad. But I'm not really ashamed of it. I don't think anybody likes to cry in public. So we all kind of still do the, and you kind of yawn but he just made it okay for me to have emotions. And so when you put those two together, I think that's why most autistic, for example, my kids, most autistic kids, are not as really affectionate. My kids are super affectionate because I've always been that way with them. And then it's just I feel like my kids always feel that they're important and valued because, I've always made them a priority because that's what he did for me.
Mm-hmm. That was number 3 then.
Well, no, I meant through him making me a priority through all the games. Through him showing up at all the games. Yeah.
Yeah, but you just with saying that, like, you were his priority. He made you the priority. That makes it even bigger, right?
It does.
You can go to games and just watch somebody else play.
It's for me, where I was raised, it's faith, family, then work. That's how it always is.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, absolutely agree with that. So that was a little side tour. Thanks for that. I appreciate that. No, man, I was just I love that. My relationship with my dad's really tight now. And I've always had a good connection with him. But he was always working. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm always I find it really cool when I can see these kind of connections, which I have now with him, but I didn't have as much when I was young.
And because of the audience for the show, I want to say this, because your show, it's really about being a good dad, and it's not just like only for good dads, if you follow what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of people, like, you may not have been a great dad, and I want to make this point. Like, my dad growing up, he was always there for my sister and I, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can say this because it's the truth, and he would be open about it. I won't do any details, but there were times that between he and my mom, it wasn't a very good dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
And he like, he says that to this day, but yet I've seen him change who he was. And in my opinion, with the Lord's help and stuff, he was able to become a different husband.
Mm-hmm.
He was always a good father, but when he transitioned himself and went through the whole process of becoming, an okay husband, or sometimes not a great husband, into becoming a really good husband and a great example now for me and for my kids, like, that makes him go, in my opinion, from being a great dad to an amazing dad.
Yeah.
Because it's just, but my point with that is, like, just because you haven't maybe done it right so far, don't think that, if you have older kids, or, or you've had a bad experience, or you've been away from the kids and haven't had that dynamic of someone, don't feel like you can't come back and fix it from here out. Because your family and your kids will still see your results from here out.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as old stuff can hurt, when you come to seeing if someone cares, it is, what have you done for me lately?
Oh,
there you go.
I got stuck in the last second there. Like, oh, no.
But I was just saying, it is, what have you done for me lately, when it comes to, like, whether people care.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, exactly. Great, man. I appreciate you sharing that. So, going back again to your job, what you mentioned, and your why. For the people that are listening or watching, I'm not going to apologize, but we are hopping all over the place. And Trent actually warned before we start this that will happen. It's not even his fault; it's mine. So, that's awesome. So anyway, maybe I have the same problem as you.
Hey, you know what though? When you get good information, you just go with it. That's how the best interviews happen, when you're able to just follow rabbit trails and then just circle back.
Yep, exactly. So we're circling back. In regards, when you were talking about your why, what's the system that you teach, or how's the way that you help your clients acquire new customers? Because I think that's one of the biggest things, most important things.
So I'm a firm believer that really the internet is the number one way to be able to acquire customers, to get new clients, if you have physical products, to sell products. I'm a huge believer in whether it's Facebook ads or Instagram ads, and even depending on the situation, like if you're a plumber, for example, Google ads are amazing because people will search Google to find a plumber.
Mm-hmm.
So our specialty has been, for years, I've done lead generation, and really what it is just being able to use ads and landing pages to be able to meet someone in the position they are, right? So, and what I mean by that is, like I said, if you're a plumber, then you may go to Google because you're searching actively for a plumber. Mm-hmm. If you're selling cars, people aren't necessarily always searching for cars. So you have to build a relationship with them. So you go from just introducing someone to you and your dealership and talking about some of the models, to then you highlight some different benefits and features. And then you can finally ask them to come in and do a test drive or whatever. So my forte and my focus has always been about helping people to be able to create a system that gets them leads online. Our primary focus, and the way we do that, a majority of it, is through Facebook, Google ads, Facebook, Instagram / Google ads, and then using landing pages. That's just what we've seen to be the most effective. If you're building long-term, we feel, and this is why we added content creation to what we do. Long term, I feel like if you're creating video content, if you're giving away, like Gary Vee talks about, giving away your best stuff. And by the way, if you're ever looking to go online, I'm going to do a quick thing. Doesn't help me. It's a great book. Yeah. Jab, 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 right hook by Gary Vee. It really is a good book because it talks about giving away your best information for free, and then people will come and get your help. Because I think a lot of people they think that the idea or the concept is what will make them millions of dollars, and it won't. The idea and the ideas and concepts are a dime a dozen. The ability to implement that idea or concept is why people will come work with you. So giving away your best information is the number one way to get people to trust you so that they'll decide to either buy your product or come hire you for your service. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, make sure.
Yeah, I appreciate that. You're making sure. No, especially so you lead them with giving something away,
Yes.
either on Facebook or make from Facebook ads, going to your landing page where you give something away, which is like your most amazing information that you can give them.
Right.
To then build trust, and that way start turning them into your
totally. And it doesn't even have to be paid ads. If some people are on a really tight budget, entrepreneurs, I mean, going live on Facebook, doing live video on Facebook is as simple as like, let me see if I have it here. Yeah, I have it here because I'm watching it on my. Yeah, we're doing an Inception moment. No, but like it's as simple as setting something like this up, and you can do a live video on Facebook with a little tripod, and there's your phone, and you're doing a live video talking to your audience, giving them information, tips, and my wife's a personal trainer, and she's giving ideas and concepts for business people, how to do stretches, this, all kinds of stuff to help people. And then when they're like, yeah, I need more help, or I need more of what you're saying, then they come to you. So my point just being, it doesn't have to always be paid. Sometimes it can be free stuff like a Facebook video. It can be going live on Instagram, doing Instagram stories. There's lots of ways to do it. If you're giving information, that's how people trust you.
Yeah, exactly. No, absolutely. That's one of the things that Russell was talking about during I did the first one funnel away challenge. And that was one of the things. He's like, okay, so now what do you like best, writing, talking, or being on camera, right? And then just do that for the next 365 days.
Yeah.
And just every single day, boom, boom, boom. So
that's all. Honestly, it's all it is.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
People have to realize, like, there's that whole concept, especially with business owners. You are the expert if you know more than the other person. And some people think that, oh, that's terrible. You shouldn't be helping people if you're just a chapter ahead. Like, I've heard that phrase. Why not? Because if I'm a chapter ahead of the person behind me, I am the expert on the last chapter. That's what they need help with. And so I'm not saying go out and fake it till you make it, but help people with what you know. Your learning will never stop. I mean, I've been in this business since 2008, and my learning is never going to stop.
Exactly. That's actually a great topic as well to continue about talking, right? Continue learning. Actually went live the other day saying that, and then it's also something, I think this came from Steve Larson, where he's saying, like, learn in such a way that you learn to teach it to others, because that way you learn better. And I had real difficulty with people going out and saying, like, last year I read 40 books. This year I'm going to read 80 books. And I'm like, dude, I'm doing 10 books. But I had the feeling that I'm
lucky if I get 10 books.
Right? Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So I'm like, okay, not dissing them, of course. I'm grateful and awesome that they're doing 80 books. And probably they get tons of information out of it. Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, it takes me longer the way that Steve he shared it with me. I'm like, yeah, it takes me a little bit longer than that. I got to highlight it and then write all the stuff down that I've did, make it my own story and stuff like that. And then I go out and go live or I share it. Or
I agree. Well, everybody learns at their own pace and they learn their own medium. And I think that's what's important. For example, like I take my show and you do the same thing. I have my show here and I'll be cutting it into social media. I cut my show up into like minute segments or 15 segments for Instagram and whatnot. And then I strip the audio out like you do as well for the podcast. Right. Although I've been a little bit of a slacker in getting my podcast audios up. Got to pick that up. But my point being is, like, I may only read five, maybe 10 at most books a year. Right. But if you look at the number of words in a book, Now compare that to the number of words I hear in a podcast. I'd go through 3-4 podcasts in a day.
Yeah.
So everyone learns in their own unique way. So just because you hit it on the head, just because you hear somebody like, I think Ty Lopez does like 150 books a year. Look, it's not happening for me. You give me 150 audiobooks, maybe, but not like that.
Yeah, no, I understand. I just not, audiobooks for some reason, it doesn't really sink in with me. Like I
see, that's cool though.
But it's like,
that's the awareness.
If the voice is off, like I listened to the 4-hour work week, right, of Tim Ferriss. I started to listen to that. And the voice was off. The voice just didn't resonate with me at all. And I was like, man, this sucks. And it's an amazing book, but just listen to the guy. I'm like, this. And I actually have that kind of.
Well, Tim didn't do his book, did he?
He what?
If I remember, Tim didn't do the audio for his book, did he?
No, that's somebody else.
That's another thing. If you're writing a book, this is a super side note and a big pet peeve of mine. I'm just going to say it. If you're going to write a book and have an audio book, spend the time and read your book, record your own audio book. Because there's a reason, like when I listen to Steve Sims or Gary Vee's books, when their voice, you resonate with that person's voice. That's why you're following them. That's why you buy the book. Exactly. If you're going to hear we know this, you hear voices. I'm going to sound crazy. Woo, you hear voices in your head. No, but you hear, like when I'm going around and I think of something Gary said, I can hear him saying it in my head. So when I go to look at a book and it's totally different voice, I'm like, delete.
What the hell is this? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I have the same with Dean Graziosi. I love listening to his podcast and stuff. And I have his book now, and the audio is not him. It's like,
no, we'll do it.
Dude, I miss that energy. I miss that passion in the stories that he brings every single day. And it's like, it's still good. Right, I still enjoy. It's still
good information, but you don't get that connection that causes what it is Steve Larson here. We'll go. It's all the it's either, I think it's the serotonin is what he was saying. It's the serotonin that kicks in, and that's the connection thing. And so when you hear that voice, it triggers the serotonin, which causes your brain to remember, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, exactly. Interesting.
But
a good side note again. So. We went over your philosophy in regards to success. One of the things that I'm always interested in is what does the word dadpreneur mean to you?
I'm a little different than some people. Some people, dadpreneur means that you're kind of teaching your kids. I think of Matt and Caleb Maddox. You're teaching your kids to be entrepreneurs, and I could see the validity in that. A dadpreneur to me is just someone that is an entrepreneur that understands the value of who they are beyond their business. An entrepreneur that understands the value they have as a dad. It's not just your business. Dadpreneur to me just says balance. Whatever that could be, whether it's 50-50 work home, whether it's 20 work, 80 home, whether it's 80 work, 20 home, whatever your balance is. To me, a dadpreneur, it just talks about having balance in your life. Because that's what I think. I think of my family, my kids, and then against work, etc. Shortest answer I've given. I know. I threw you for a loop there. It was a delay. You're like, wait, you're done?
No sidetracks, no rabbit holes, nothing. No.
That was straight to the point.
I love it.
I got one or two of those. That's it. So.
Yeah, no, I know. Last time I asked this question, was it last week or the week before? I asked this question, and another guy actually swung it back to me. He's like, "What does dadpreneur mean to you?" And my answer was even shorter. I'm like, "Dad first, entrepreneur second."
That's right. That's exactly right.
He looked at me, he's like, "That's it." I'm like, "Dude, that's it. That's it." Because it helps me when, I think actually now my wife took my kids to the playground, but most around this time they're here. So most often around this time they come in. And
you're like, "Hey, Dad," you're like, no. Dad's here. Hi, hug, good, now go.
No, and I started apologizing, right? The first ones I did, I'm like, "Oh, hey, look, sorry, people. My son came in, blah, blah, blah." Now it's like, "Come on, buddy. Sit on my lap. Let's go. Say who you are. Talk, ask a question. Let's go." Well, he doesn't do that yet, but in Spanish, so that makes it a little difficult. But it's like, it's part of my life. I'm a dadpreneur. I'm not, so plus my business is called Become a Fearless Father. I mean, everywhere.
No apologies allowed. Fearless Father.
No, No, and I told off a guy that I interviewed as well, because his son came in because he was going to bed, right? And he's like, "Oh, sorry, just give me a second." I'm like, "Dude, don't apologize. It's our fearless father.
Right. Cool.
Your kids come first, and my audience will wait and will understand." And actually, we go, "But
the audience is like, hey, yeah, he puts his kids first. I like that. Yeah,
exactly. All right, cool, man. So we talked about success. Let's talk about the opposite. What does failure mean to you?
What does failure mean? That's actually a really good one. Because I don't know that I necessarily believe in failure.
All right, explain.
Because I think that you learn from everything that happens. I could say, personal example, I could say, oh, I had a failed first marriage. And okay, yeah, well, while that is true, there's a ton that I've learned that I brought into my marriage with my wife that I don't do. I'm like, I screwed up here, and here, and here, and here. And you try to improve on those things. You look at business and you say, well, look at practical. Did that ad fail? No, you didn't really fail. You just learned what doesn't connect with that audience. And so I think when you process failure, it's all about your mindset. It's about whether you're believing it's a failure or whether you're going to take it and learn from it and turn it into I believe all failure can be a positive is what I'm really getting at.
Exactly. The attitude of you either win or you learn.
Yeah.
Right.
It is.
I like
you
that.
win and you learn. That's exactly how to say it.
Yeah. Love it. That's what we learned in the Muay Thai, the contact sport that I used to practice. It's either you win or you learn, and learning usually comes with a lot of pain. But
and by the way, this is another reason that I don't believe in soapbox. With my soapbox, I'm about to jump on one. Another reason I don't believe in trophies for everybody.
Yeah.
Because if everybody feels like we win, then what do I have to learn?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Like there's a maturing and a growth process that comes from losing.
Yeah,
like you learn how to deal with loss. You learn how to deal with things you don't like. There's a lot of kids that just don't know, like, well, wait a minute, I don't get to have what I want. You learn. I think that's the same process as failure. It's not really, it's still considered a loss in the win-loss column, but you have to learn from it. So if you don't have the ability to lose, then in my opinion, you're robbing the kid of that ability to learn.
Absolutely.
And improve.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I actually had a conversation today with my son. He had his first karate championship a month ago. He just turned 6, so he was then still 5.
Awesome.
And he was really excited. He practiced for like every single night before he practiced his kata. And I was wishing, because I heard everybody saying, like, when they have competitions, everybody gets a freaking medal. And I was like, dude, I so hope that they don't give medals to everybody, right? Because I just don't think that's good. So he goes up and he does it. He does it like he does all the moves. He just does it way too fast. So he does it against the girl and the girl wins. And I'm like, okay, cool. So he comes up to me. He says, Daddy, I lost. The girl beat me. I'm like, okay, how do you feel? Oh, I'm good. I want to do the next one. I'm like, there you go. Nice.
Exactly. Yeah.
Then in the end, they didn't get medals. So I was like, yes. That would have proven everything.
Dads cheer that our kids don't get medals because we want win losses. We don't want participation. Like I'm cheering that the kid everybody doesn't get something.
Yeah.
Whether my kid loses or wins, if my kid loses, I don't want him or her to get something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I started picturing myself already going up there and saying, he's not getting this. You better take that back.
Yeah, exactly. Look, you want to give him a participation thing? Give him a t-shirt.
Yeah.
That says I was at the event. There's your participation trophy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I like that. Well, they didn't. It was actually, I didn't know, but it was actually an official, like, local karate event with, like, the Federation upon or whatever they call it. So
he probably had a little disappointment when he didn't get a medal. He saw the other medals. He was kind of like,
oh yeah, no,
you're like,
they had freaking like trophies.
Big, yeah. And he was probably like, I want one.
Yeah.
But then he feels, okay, I guess I got to go back and work harder and I'll get one next year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it got worse even when the next time they went training, there were 2 in the older group that won. And one of the kid, he's freaking amazing, he wins all the time. And he had like the trophy. Where am I?
I mean,
like huge. The teacher put it right in front, right? And everybody would clap. So I saw him looking like,
He's
Yeah,
like,
he's
I'm gonna break your trophy.
I know. He's just like, okay, I want that trophy has my name on it for next time. At least that's the look that I saw, or at least that's going to think that look meant.
But see, that's huge though for kids, because it gives them the ability to say, look, we don't meet up our goals. It's like we just said. That's how a kid learns. Failure's not really failure. It's just learning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then I iterated that today. I told him, I said, dude, you didn't. He said, I lost. I said, dude, you didn't lose. You learned, right?
Yeah.
Because what do you need to do? Well, I need to practice more. Good, but that's it.
Yeah. He learns that now he has to slow down, make his movements more precise in his kata, and then he'll be the one on next time looking at the girl, and then hopefully he's not like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I hope not. I think that's more his little brother.
That's fine. There's always one in the family. There's always one when you get the kid. There's one that's like the really polite, respectful kid that wins well and loses well. And then you have the other kid who is generally not a good winner and not a good loser. They have to be a little like coached a little bit, like, it's okay. Act like you've been there. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's going to be my youngest one. He's 3, but he has such an attitude already.
Is he competitive?
Is he? Yeah. Well, he's his oldest is the most competitive one. Like, he always runs downstairs, touches the door first, says, "I'm first."
That's funny.
But the funny thing now is that he asked me, like, what's the day? It's Monday. Okay, is that Spanish or English day? No, it's Spanish day. Okay, primero.
Ah, nice.
So on Tuesday it's English day. So he goes, "Is it English day?" He's like, "Yes, first."
Okay, so I want to talk about. So you guys, I didn't know this. You guys bounce back and forth on your days, so that the kids can become fluent in both Spanish and English. That's cool.
That's the way I have it set up. So everybody has it set up differently, because I asked a couple of people that are also multilingual marriages, right? And the way we have it set up is like Monday, Wednesday is Spanish, Tuesday, Thursday is English, Friday is Dutch, because I'm from the Netherlands, so
your kids speak 3 languages.
Yeah. And then Saturday, Sunday, we switch between English and Spanish every weekend, which makes it interesting. So, and yeah, that's the way we try to. Sometimes there's days that it's like there's 3 languages going in one day. But hey, and in the beginning,
that's hard to do. And that's the right time to do it when they're little, because they pick up language so fast. Then. Yeah.
I just don't know if my strategy is the right strategy. We'll find that out later on, but I'm sure it helps with the language.
There's only one way to know.
Yeah. No, that's just doing it. No, exactly. Yeah. And with English, for example, his teacher told me, like, English, he's like way above everybody else. And I keep telling everybody, like, stop putting your cartoons for your kids or start putting your cartoons in the original language, because here they synchronize everything. Right? Have you ever heard Sylvester Stallone or Arnold Schwarzenegger in Spanish?
Oh my gosh, that would be so much fun.
Dude.
Hey, that would be so. Sorry, but that would be really, really entertaining.
It's so
they're entertaining anyway.
No. That's why I'm saying that. It's like.
Oh my gosh.
Who is this guy that is trying to say their voices in such a way? I stopped watching it. Like, I'm waiting. Like, all my friends here have seen the end game. And of course, all you guys have seen it. I have not seen it yet, because it's not out in English yet for me anywhere.
So you're waiting for the English so you can get everyone's actual voices. And I totally get that.
I watched Thor in Spanish, and I said, never, ever, ever again. He sounds like a little girl.
Funny.
Not, so it's done. So anyway, dude, man, before we hit off, you showed 1 book, Jab, Jab, Right Hook.
Yeah.
Give me 2 more books that you're like, man, if Dadpreneur should read anything this year, my opinion is definitely should be this.
Oh, let me look here. I'm looking over my bookshelf. Well, if they're legitimately looking to be online, which is what I believe everyone should be, then I believe you need to have .com secrets. And I believe you need to read Crushing It by Gary Vee. And I'll show you real quick both of them. Hopefully my mic will reach out there. There we go.
Yep.
So these are, in my opinion, those are the 3 books everybody needs to read if you're doing business online.
Awesome.
If you're doing business online, those 3 books will help. And you can get Crushing It, by the way, in audiobook.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. I got .com Secrets, and I'm reading right now.
I got that one over there too. And by the way, a free book that you guys can get. It's another free plus shipping offer. A good one. It's the starter one, especially for dads.
Be the Man. Oh, that's Gary. Yeah.
Garrett White.
Yep.
Be the Man. He does. Doggone. My stinking chair caught on the edge of the roller there. Yeah, it's this one. Be the Man. Start leading. Stop lying. It's kind of the entry level book of what he does when he talks about the being a real man again and being the king of your home and kind of getting out of the habitual emasculation of men. So again, it's a hard read. He, if you know Garrett at all, it's a hard read, but it's a good read.
Nice. I appreciate you sharing that. Dude, man, we're over an hour, so I'm not going to take you up too much longer. Let me share this again for the people that are watching, all right? So you can check that out, his website, and get to learn even more. I got several topics I still want to discuss with you. For those fathers, dadpreneurs out there that are listening, and I like, dude, man, I want to follow you. I actually want to ask you some questions. What's the best way besides your website to follow you?
2 places. Both of them are at Real Trent Evans. I think you popped it up earlier. You can go track me down on Instagram at Real Trent Evans, and then just facebook.com/@RealTrentEvans is my business page. But yeah, Instagram is probably the fastest way because my following is just starting to grow there. So it's actually smallest, and I'm probably most responsive right now on Instagram. So that's probably the fastest way to get me. You can follow my podcast, Trent Evans Audio Experience, on iTunes. But and I'll gladly answer any questions you guys have. I'm all about helping people. I do. My wife's and other people I know in business say I do too many free calls, but it's just a lot of fun because I like to help people.
I hear you. Yep, I appreciate that, man. So Trent, thank you so much for spending over an hour of your time with me and sharing all your insights. I truly enjoyed it. I hope everybody did as well. I am going to repeat this every single time. If you have felt or you listened to something and you felt like this is my golden nugget, this is the one thing, please do not only just listen and write it down, take action right away.
Absolutely.
That is the only way that you're going to make forward and learn it even better or turning into a habit or whatever it is. So,
and don't be perfect.
That's absolutely. Again, thanks so much. Everybody else, thank you for spending the time with us. And I will talk or see everyone very soon.
Awesome.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Are you still meeting up with your friends now that you're a father? Kids making you stress out. You got no time for yourself to work out, read, or relax. Can you still remember the time you were hanging out with your friends, feeling energetic, happy, and confident? Spending time together and talking about your life and your crazy dreams. You're feeling alone now, don't you? No one to share your challenges with, and you're just running around from one storm into the next. Well, it's time to change this now. Join me and the Brotherhood of Fearless Fathers to speak on a weekly basis with like-minded dads to crush your challenges, face your fears with determination, be held accountable, and regain control of your life. If you want to become the hero your family needs you to be, then go to becomeafearlessfather.com/brotherhood. I'm looking forward to seeing you on one of our next calls.